for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk.
You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about how parents don't always know what's best. I'm Frankie.
And I am Maddie K. Stormageddon.
So, in this episode, a stressed-out mom in the alienage is seen speaking to a Templar about her missing son. She tells us that he's showing signs of magic that can't be controlled, and she's afraid that he might hurt himself. With some tips to follow, Hawk and crew go off to locate the boy and help him decide his next steps.
I must say that playing as a mage in this game makes me understand and notice the mage-related quests a lot more. Like, I was aware of them my first playthrough, but like now that I'm like I have options to react as a mage, or like I often have Anders with me, and since I'm a mage, I notice some of his disgruntledness. It's just a really interesting perspective to engage in while revisiting this game.
Honestly, from a meta perspective, the most interesting pairing to have in your party, in my opinion, is Fenris and Anders, because they are so diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
And, like, you can kind of bring Fenris around. And that is the nice thing about keeping him in your party and constantly doing good things for mages.
Yeah.
It's really like, see, Fenris? See?
But yeah, well, speaking to that then, who did you bring? I brought Anders. I'm still rolling with Anders, Carver, and Varric for now.
Yeah, basically the same except Bethany.
Yeah.
I really like having Bethany in my party because, spoiler alert, she will not forever be in my party, you know? Right. Depending on what happens in the deep roads, no matter what, she's just not going to be part of my life anymore. So I kind of want to get as much Bethany time in from a meta perspective, but also if, you know, I'm someone with a sibling and like this is the last tie to an entire life that I left behind, like that's a person I want to spend time with regardless.
That's fair.
You know?
I don't know if I agree, but I also got the worst sibling. So.
Yeah, you got the worst sibling, and also you grew up with a brother.
Yeah.
You grew up with a sibling, and I grew up as an only child, despite having more siblings than you do.
Yes, correct. Just not knowing they existed until about 5 years ago.
And like now that I know about my little brother, I love my little brother. He's a punk, and he's one of my favorite people. And like I told him about an incident with our mom recently, our bio mom, and how it upset me, and he was outraged on my behalf, and he also like double checked that he was using my correct pronouns and using my correct name and everything like that, and checked in on how I felt about him calling me his sister, because even though I am non-binary, Nick grew up knowing he had a sister, you know?
Right.
So, like, I don't mind Nick calling me his sister because there's, like, a specific kind of socialization there.
Sure. Well, it's like, yeah, when I came out as non-binary, Sarah, the first thing Sarah asked is if it's okay if my nibblings call me uncle. And I'm like, yeah, there's not a better word for that. And like, I don't want to try and make them understand why uncle is no good. And like, as far as my name goes, like that was also a thing. Like, do you want to go by a different name? And I was like, meh. Mostly go by Storm anyway. And those who call me Matt, like, I don't mind. I think it's the same way that like some people I think don't like being called dude when they're not non-binary or trans, and I don't mind. I think it's just your preference, and like there's no
personal preference.
Right. There's no right answer. The right answer is asking the person what they prefer. That's the right answer.
And that's exactly what my brother did. And like I love and value my brother, and if anybody ever tells him this, I'll completely deny it, and I'll be like, what, that piece of shit?
Yeah, I mean, growing up with a brother who's 9 years older than you means you're basically an only child because Seth was
That's
in
true.
college and away by the time I was like starting high school. And I think it was starting high school. I don't remember the exact timeline, but even still, I barely saw him and everything. But as we became adults, we got much closer. Now, since Dad's passing, we're closer. I don't know that like we'll ever get any closer than we are now, but like we definitely talk more, hang out more, and spend more time than we did growing up. And
Yeah.
so there's a closeness now.
Especially as growing up, you were very different people.
Right, both of us. And like having kids mellowed him out, me discovering my queer identity mellowed me out ish.
And radicalized you further.
Yeah. But like he definitely is more understanding and compassionate now. I'm slowly chipping away at the video games are for children mentality. As his son is now 20 years old as of the other day.
How dare you say that?
Yeah, my nephew Ethan is 20 and in Spain actually for college. So
I remember when he was so small.
as I give Frankie an existential crisis on the podcast.
My God. John
But,
said that it was 15 years since I worked at Borders, and I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah, we're old. But that said, like my nephew growing up and being basically a young adult and still loving video games as much as he did as a little kid is slowly breaking my brother of that. That just because none of the adults he knows plays video games doesn't mean adults don't play video games.
Yeah.
Says someone in their 40s.
It's true. You are in your 40s.
Anyway, enough about our personal kvetching. Let's get on to the mission itself. So, Frankie and I did say in the last episode we were going to do a bunch of check-ins, and we were wrong because there aren't that many check-ins to do. But we did check in on our good friend Meryl, and, well, it was an interesting conversation, at least.
So, the thing that I'm noticing about Dragon Age 2 is that there is less of a cause for these check-ins. The game kind of tells you when somebody wants to talk to you, which I appreciate. I do like knowing that somebody has something to tell me. And it does save me from like going to everyone's house all the time and just being like, hello? Well,
yeah, that was a complaint in Veilguard that I just frankly didn't agree with. People were annoyed that you only really needed to check in when there were quest markers. I'm like, as someone who has shit to do and a life that goes beyond video games, it's nice to be told when I need to do a thing. Yeah. The thing that drives me nuts about replaying the Mass Effect games is, especially in 2 and 3, like, you just got to go talk to them every time you're back on the ship. There's barely an indicator that you need to check in. Like, there are quests and stuff, but, like, it's definitely more like, which feels more sim-like, I think, in the sense that you don't know when your friends want to talk to you. You should go check in on them.
Yeah.
But, like, as a video game, I like the meta side of it because, like I said, I've got shit to do and not unlimited time.
Yeah, and Andromeda kind of picked that up, too, by whenever you came onto the Tempest, if somebody, like, had something very specific to say to you, they would say, like, hey, come see me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. So having a note waiting for me saying, like, hey, come visit me, that's helpful. So having a note saying to come visit Meryl for talking about crime in the Alien Age was helpful. Apparently she saw someone get mugged.
And was very excited about it. And it was like...
And also like, didn't do anything to stop it.
Yeah, Meryl was like, and I was like, Meryl, you're excited about getting mugged? She's like, yeah, it must be how they welcome people in this neighborhood. And they just must not like me very much because I haven't been mugged yet. And I'm like, oh, you sweet baby.
Oh, yeah.
She's basically a puppy dog, which is, I mean, a puppy dog that can summon demons, but still a puppy dog. And that's something.
Yeah, she doesn't really have anyone to talk to because the elves in the Alien Age did not grow up the way that she grew up. So there's this distance there already because she doesn't know their experience and they don't know her experience. So just because they're both elves doesn't mean that they're just going to automatically mesh.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I mean, and that makes sense, right? I feel like anybody living in that kind of environment might be leery of everyone, even if they look like you, sound like you, right? If you're in a bad way, it's hard to trust anyone, regardless of where they hail from. I
feel like, though, if somebody sounds like you, then it's easier to trust them because that means that they have a shared experience with you that you can automatically hear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So, like, local dialect is one of those things.
Yeah.
So Meryl, she just really needs someone to talk to. We should check on Meryl more often.
I think so too. Yeah. I do want to take Meryl with me more often, but like only having one healer because I refuse to heal, it just makes it a challenge to bring 2 mages. I mean, I guess I could bring 2 mages in lieu of a rogue, but like being able to open lock chests is nice. Although the loot in this game does kind of suck. So like, especially if you have the DLC, because the DLC gear is just going to always be better when you hit those milestones.
Yeah.
By design. So I could start bringing 2 mages and Fenris. That would go over well.
Mage squad. Just bring all mages. Oops, all mages.
If I could be a mage tank like you were in the first game, I would be all mages because that's what I wanted to.
Is that not one of the specializations?
No. So I looked it up online. If you go down the blood mage tree, there are things that like let you, I think, heal yourself at the expense of mana and hurt yourself to gain mana or something, like things like that. I might be speaking a little out of turn, but like there are things that help you be tankier, but there's no like specialization in this game to be a mage tank, which is a bummer because that's the first thing I Googled when I got stuck with being a mage. I Googled,
some heavy quotation marks around that.
Mage warrior, like in Dragon Age 2, and most of the write-ups I saw on Reddit and on GamesFAQs were like, you can sort of do it. And I mean, I am playing on easy, so maybe what I might do is just swap around some stuff. Like I have the rock shield, like the rock armor and stuff, so I have a few things.
You know what I constantly forget?
What? That
you can do tactics.
Yes, and you can design how you want each computer player to act.
Like, I kind of like the fact that you can personalize it so much, but at the same time, no.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the thing with the tactics is, again, it's born out of this wanting to be a CRPG in the early days, in the first game especially. And so the tactics were kept in for all the games. One of the things I've actually liked about the Veilguard is that the computer players were kind of like they were in Mass Effect 3. They're just there, they fight. They can't go down, and they kind of do what's best for the party. I think there's still tactics in the Veilguard. I can't remember.
Oh, I don't remember.
But I think it's more automated for sure. Anyway, this is not a podcast about mechanics.
It can be.
It can be. But needless to say, after checking in with Meryl, it's time to kick off this mission proper and go talk to Ariane.
Conveniently, we're in the alienage, so
yes,
it works
already.
out.
It does. And we see Ariane talking to a Templar who is trying to comfort her and is swearing that he's just trying to find her son to help him. And we kind of walk in on the conversation as it's ending.
Yeah. So the Templar who is trying to help her is named Sir Thrask. I don't think we've had any interactions with him yet, but he seems sympathetic. He just wants to make sure that Fainrail's not going to hurt himself or other people. And Ariane has the same fears. You know, the problem with Fainrail is that he is a type of mage that finds his magic in the Fade, and the Fade is connected to dreams and sleep. So the Fade has been drawing on his strength and making it harder for him to wake up. So he's getting disconnected from the waking world as a result. And that's kind of scary because if you spend your life asleep, there's so much that you're going to miss out on.
Yeah.
Bethany really wants to help Ariane because this could be our mom. You know, what if something happened to me? And yeah, I'm on board. I'm like, yeah, let's help the lady. Question about Ariane's face tattoo. I know that it has a very specific name among the Dalish, but I can't remember what it is. It begins with a V. Vassalon? I don't know. But her face tattoo looks very smudgy to me.
Yeah.
Did it look smudgy to you too?
Yeah, I don't know if it was by design or just the graphics or
I feel like the graphics are just like, oh no, I can't keep up anymore.
I mean, I'm also playing on PC, which I believe the PC is rendered better than the Xbox version, but I don't know for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. Of course, Anders was in full support, and then Carver's like, "Well, I guess we better figure this out because they could go after Mom also." Because I believe in my playthrough, my mom, because Mom was married to a mage,
Yeah.
like she is considered a mage, like an apostate as well. And like, so Carver is less about, "Oh, this could happen to us. We should help this poor child." Carver's like, "Well, we don't want to get fucked, so we better do something," which
Yeah.
is basically Carver's personality.
Yeah. So Ariani gives us two paths to follow. We can go speak to Sir Thrask, who has some information we can follow up on, or we can go speak to Fainriel's father, Vincento, who, when he found out that Fainriel was born and also is a mage, he was like, no thank you, and completely ditched them.
Wow.
Yeah, Vincento's not a nice guy.
No, although like when you talk to him, which is what I did. I didn't go to the gallows. I went to talk to Vincento.
I also went to talk to Vincento.
He does seem to have some sympathy. Like when you try to talk to him, he's pretending like he doesn't know what you're talking about until you, like for me, I can choose the option to show him that I'm mage and then I do sparklies with my hand. And he goes,
I asked Bethany to do that.
and then he goes, "Oh, thank God." And then tells you, like, it's clear that he's not great, but there is some care for the mistake he feels he made. Like he considers his son a mistake, which is not great, but has owned up to the fact that it was his doing and not his son's fault, and is trying to help somewhat.
Yeah. So like Vincento recognizes that we're not here to hurt his son, recognizes that we're here to help, and then tells us what to do. Or rather, where to go. So Vincento sent Fenriel to a former Templar named Samson, who now helps mages on the run, which seems like a very generous thing to do.
Yes. And my first thought is, wow, he's helping. And then my second thought is, this isn't going to go well.
So when we do approach Samson at night, we find out that Samson walked away from being a Templar because the abuse of mages was just too much for him to handle. But as a result, he is already hooked on the drug that the Chantry uses to keep Templars in line and to give them their abilities. So he's a lyrium addict with no access to lyrium. As a result for being a Templar, which is great. You love that your universe's police force is hooked on drugs.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, and the fact that like when you join, like it does feel very reflective of things I've heard, like, oh, you can join whenever you want and you can leave whenever you want, but there are these things tied up in you leaving. Like I have heard maybe per se that if you wanted to leave being a police officer, put your whole pension in jeopardy, and you can leave any time, but then the thing you were working towards to never have to work again may go away. Yeah, it's I would love for this game to stop being reflective of current modern times. That'd be great.
It's almost like the entire game is a commentary, and Dragon Age has always been political.
Right? Turns out video games are political, have always been. It's like that to astronaut meme, like, when did video games get political? They always have been.
Yep. So Samson talks about how it was really difficult for him to see young mages who are scared and they're being hunted by demons and they're being locked up just for being who they are. However, he only helps mages if they have money.
Yes. And it's like, on the one hand, living poor, I get it. On the other hand, come on, man.
Like, bruh. So, Samson, you're a piece of shit. And he tells Fainriel, or he told Fainriel to check out this captain that sometimes gives people passage on a ship. Except the captain just, like, took them captive and they're gonna sell him as a slave.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
I was so mad. I told him that if Fainriel's not in one piece, I'm coming for him.
Did I threaten him?
I did.
I don't think I threatened him. I did. We'll get there. I did threaten someone, but it wasn't him.
I threaten everyone. How dare you? Yeah, so I was mad. So I went to the docks at night. That's when I discovered like tactics existed. I was like,
Yeah.
ah.
Right. I can do tactics.
So I tried to play with those a little bit, and I got really frustrated. And I was like, I never want to do this again. This sucks.
Yeah.
So I found the warehouse. You kill a whole bunch of people. You enter a side room, and there is a cutscene.
Yeah.
And this cutscene made me so sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's a young femme mage being cornered by thugs and being put under so much pressure that she caves to protecting herself over her own well-being and turns into a demon and kills them all and tries to kill you.
Yeah.
Or tries to kill them all and tries to kill you.
Yeah. And the thing is, the thugs say to each other, get her hands. They can't do magic without their hands.
Yeah.
And like, as a person raised in feminine society, raised to like fear what men can do to you.
Oh yeah.
The idea of men taking my hands in whatever fashion, or like preventing me from being able to use my hands, that's terrifying in any respect.
Oh yeah.
So, of course she's gonna like succumb to a deeper power because she has no other choice.
Yeah, she doesn't want to die, and self-preservation takes over.
And if you stop putting mages in this position, they will stop turning into abominations.
Yeah, basically. But, you know, there's that. Like, we can't possibly stop. They'll become abominations. But if we do these things, they become abominations. There's no choice. Uh-huh.
It's so infuriating. So we pick up a note from her body and we find out her name is Olivia. And her father is Sir Thrask.
Yep.
So that's fun information.
Yeah, more on that later.
Yeah.
Anyway, we also find out here that where the slaver's location is, that they might be down by the docks in Darktown getting ready to sell those slaves. And so we run after the slaver to try and stop them.
Yeah. When I approach Danzig, he's like, you're trespassing on my territory. Clap them in irons. We'll sell this one as a slave. And I chose to say, I'd make a terrible slave. I talk too much. And then my hawk draws a blade on Danzig and says, also, I do that.
Yeah, basically the same, but I like get ready to blast him. Basically, it's that meme of like the old guy and the robber. And it's like, somebody call an ambulance, and then pulls out a gun, but not for me. Like, it's just, and then we fight and we kill them all, and then find out that there's still a chance the slaver had given him to someone else, and that we can chase after.
What if one day we did an episode that was entirely in memes?
I mean, we
like
could probably do it. Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yes, we find a map to the Wounded Coast. Does your hawk go off on a tangent about different weirdly named locations?
I don't think so.
Mine goes like, is that near Massive Head Trauma Bay?
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He doesn't do that.
Mine did, and I just laughed so much, so I put that in my notes.
Yep.
Like,
so now we're.
I know that there's a way to just get Danzig to tell you everything.
Yeah, but you have to play nice, and I didn't want to play nice.
He's a slaver.
Yeah,
he's the reason Olivia is dead. So I don't have any interest in making deals with him, so I just went all in for a fight.
Same. Keep that in mind when we get to the Wounded Coast. Speaking of which, like, this mission sucks for a load of reasons. Narratively, it's fine, but like, we have so many locations that we have to go to.
Yeah.
It's such a fetch quest, and like, it's not good quest design. Like,
there's a lot of back and forth.
It just like to no purpose other than for combat. And like they could have found a way to squeeze this all into one area or make it a longer dungeon or whatever. Like it is
or just cutscene. You're there.
Right. Like, I think this is one of the greater flaws of this game. Again, one of my favorite games in the franchise is that the quests are just like, oh, well, we'll make them go there and then do this and then go do that and then go do this.
Go
And
talk
I
to this
hate it.
person and talk to that person. Yeah,
Especially
it's-
since we were just at the Wounded Coast, I think the last 2 missions. Also,
Yeah.
it's just like enough already.
Well, if we were smart, we would have organized this in such a way where it's like, we'll do everything in this location, then we'll do everything in this location.
I
Like,
refuse to take any blame for that.
I know. But like the way that our show is structured, it's kind of impossible for us to do that because
course.
we go like storyline by storyline.
Yeah.
So if we were just normal people playing, then
Yeah.
that may not be as much of an issue because you may
Right.
just resolve everything that's happening on the Wounded Coast at once.
Well, right. And other play along pods who are less concerned about the choices specific and like just discussing the choices broadly, not why we made the choices, could probably do this in 6 or 7 episodes because they would just play like for 4-hour chunks at a time and get through chunks of the game and discuss. But we like, it's always funny when I compare our season lengths to like Normandy FM season lengths, and theirs are like half of ours because they do discuss the choices and why they made them, but they don't always personalize the characters. I know Eric likes to create a character, whereas Ken often likes to put himself in the game. And so it's just a different vibe. And I think that's great that you can get different perspectives on these games, but it's just not what we're here to do. We prefer to get into the nitty gritty mission by mission. That said, you should go listen to Normandy FM because they're great. But yeah, I think it's mostly frustrating to me because when we do this, it can't help but show the flaws. It's why, as much as I liked Andromeda, I need to replay it on my own time eventually to really get a sense, because there were parts towards the middle and end where I just felt it dragged because of how we were going through the missions, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's more of a fault of our process and the way we want to do it than the game per se. Like, I am curious, not to, again, bring up the Veilguard, but I am curious how our process with the Veilguard will affect how much I enjoy the game, because when doing it on at my own speed, it was great. I really love that game a lot, but I am curious if it cracks under the pressure of dissecting it, which sometimes these games do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we do go to the Wounded Coast, and then we do fight a whole lot of boys, a couple of mages, to Vinter.
Yeah, but we confront, I can't remember the other slaver's name, but I
don't think we get his name. He's just a guy.
So. But we confront another slaver who has his knife to Fenrir's neck. Every time I see that word, I want to say Fenrirel, which is not the same.
No,
different person.
That's someone else. I wonder if Fenrir was named for Fenrirel.
I mean, it's possible based on lore of like.
I feel like it's unlikely based on lore because Fenrirel is like the bad god, so to speak, of the Dalish.
In theory, yeah.
But like, interesting.
But this slaver like threatens to kill him, and I love when I get these moments. When you bring Varric, sometimes you go, "Hey, Varric, help me out," and then Varric spins this tail.
I love letting my friends
good.
flex, so I'm always if there's an option to let somebody else handle it, I will, because I'm just like, "Hi, you have a special skill, do it." And then Varric just spins the biggest pile of bullshit.
It's so good. It's so good. It's why, it's so easy in Inquisition to forget who Varric is just because he does less of this.
Yeah.
But he's a bullshit artist. That's why I love him. And he's the whole game is him telling a maybe bullshit story to Cassandra. We don't even know, right? And it's just, and I mean, he does open the game with a bullshit story. So I love this moment. I basically got to go, "Hey, Varric, tell him what we're going to do." And then Varric just going off. It's so good.
Tell this dirtbag who we are. And Varric doesn't tell him who we are. Varric tells him who Fenrir is. And he's just like, "Don't you know that is the Viscount's love child that he swore to protect? That he would raise what is it? What's the name of the place? Is it the Free Marches?
Free Marches, yeah.
Yeah, he would raise the Free Marches if anything should ever happen to him." And this guy is like, I no, absolutely not. This is not anything I want to have to deal with. Please take him.
Yeah.
Take
And
the boy. I don't care anymore.
and so, well, but he doesn't do that. He says, "Don't go anywhere. You're no use to me, dead," and then attacks us. And
That didn't happen to me.
oh, really? Yeah.
So Varric spins the thing, and he says something like, "I don't want a war with the Viscount. Take the boy." And I'm like, "Oh, you're so generous." And he's like, "Also, here's the money that I was paid. Please go away."
Oh, I remember what happened now. Yeah, the reason that doesn't happen is because basically I do the pull a gun on a robber meme, and like after he goes, "Well, I don't want a war," it's like, "But I do. We're gonna kill you anyway because you're a slaver." Because I didn't want to let him go. He's a slaver.
That's fair. I just thought it was more to like my personality to be like, "That's so sweet. That's so nice of you, giving me the thing that I came here for."
Yeah, I guess my personality always is in conflict with do I kill a slaver, and the answer to do I kill a slaver is always yes. And so
That's fair.
then he kicks the boy down to his knees and goes, "Don't go anywhere. You're no use to me, dead." We kill them all, and then Fenrir comes to me and he's like, "Man, how did you know that he wouldn't kill me?" He's like, "Because I'm always right." And he's like, "Well, that must be nice for you." But is grateful for the rescue, and then asks what we're going to do, because he, you can talk to him about his dreams, and he's leery of me at first, and then I can go, "But I'm a mage. I'm like you. I do the sparkly hand thing again." And he goes, "Oh, thank God. You're one of us."
He doesn't even he's not even wary of me. He's just like, he talks about his mom and how it's like, she was all, "I'll love and protect you no matter what." And then the second things get hard, it's okay, off to the Templars you go, and how hurtful that was to him. And this is again another time when I feel like the mages are a really good allegory for queer identity, because your parents always tell you that they're going to love and protect you, but the second that you deviate from their expectations, then in an ideal world they respect that change. But
Right.
for many people, for many queer people, it's a traumatic event because their parents just don't want to believe it, or don't want to understand it, and don't think that what's right for you. And in some cases this can result in going to conversion therapy, which I think that going to the Templars would be a good metaphor for in this scenario.
Yeah.
But what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I decide to say, "Fuck your mom, fuck the Templars. Let's go to the Dalish. I happen to know the head of the Dalish. I can help."
Yes, I say that as well. I say I'm friendly with the keeper of the Dalish. I can talk to her and make sure that she takes you in.
Yep. And yeah, so we do that, and then it cuts to us going back to Ariani.
Anders says, "Who's going to tell Mother Dearest?"
Yeah, he does. He says that for me too. And then we leave to go to her, and she's actually more understanding.
Yeah, she's
than
glad.
I expected. Yeah, she's just glad that he's safe. That's all she wanted.
Yeah. Apparently she didn't think that they would take him because he's
Right.
basically
He's
human, and they didn't even want her to raise him
Right.
among them. But because they value magic, they'll at least take him in and teach him control.
Yeah.
So,
And so as close to a happy ending as you can get in Dragon Age 2.
well, this
Look,
is not
I'm
the
just
last
saying.
time that we see Fainreal, so let's see.
Look, I'm just saying, as of this moment, sight unseen, spoilers removed, this is a happy ending, goddammit.
Let me have a happy ending.
There are so few in this game.
Just this once. Nobody gets tranquiled by the Templars.
Just this once.
I know.
To quote the doctor.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's the mission.
Yep.
The end.
The
Good
end. Frankie, do you have a fandom corner?
I do not have a fandom corner because I've been sick. my spouse has been visiting me, and every time my spouse and I visit each other, one of us is sick, and then the other gets sick because we're transferring germs to each other, and it's awful.
If you just lived in bubbles and wore masks all the time and never interacted or touched at all, which is totally something you want to do after not seeing your partner for 6 months.
Or maybe if we just lived together full time.
I mean, that too. That too.
So John has to move here. It's the only solution.
Right. Yes, of course. Look, I'd be in no hurry to come back to the States either at this point.
Yeah.
Since in 4 days, who knows what the fuck is going to happen as of when we're recording. Anyway, we did, however, get some fan mail, which we have not gotten in a bit.
Yay!
I will read Silicanet, and then, which I assume I've pronounced their name correctly,
No,
on
you
Discord. They're both on Discord. How would you pronounce it?
Silkenet.
Silkenet? Okay. Is that like an actual word?
I don't know. But
Okay.
you added a syllable that wasn't there.
Okay, look. English
Like, it could
nerd.
be Silcanet, but...
I'm breaking it down by its component parts.
And adding an extra letter.
Okay, anyway.
Continue.
Silkenet is a friend I made in the Tales from the Backlog server when I found out that they were going to be playing through Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. I was like, well, there's a podcast you could listen to. And so naturally, they DM'd me after getting through the first 3 episodes to share their thoughts. And I asked if I could share them on the pod, and they said yes. I'm using they because I genuinely don't know if they are femme, mask, or somewhere in between. So
They are clearly a goose.
they are, a duck. That's the duck
it looks
detective.
like a
Thank you
goose.
very much.
They look like a goose.
So they say, listen to episode 2 and 3. Very interesting. As I was playing, I did not notice how much male-centric this game is. I was too into the world, learning about alien races, etc. Otherwise, 3 points. 1, Sovereign is not a lobster. He is clearly a squid with a
Have
laughy
you
face
seen
emoji.
a lobster?
They're terrifying and long.
Like,
Just
Sovereign's a lobster. I'm sorry. I know this is your friend, but they're wrong.
2, I came in expecting an RPG because BioWare, for me, is a PC RPG dev. So I liked the micromanaging and the stats. It really bothered me in ME2 that the guns are just different flavors of gun types, which I can get.
agree.
If you like RPG stuff, there is definitely less RPG stuff as the games go on. And then thirdly, I agree it lacks representation. However, I tend to judge games in the context of when they were released in. And for 2007, it was a step up, a small one that could have been bigger. And also new releases inform us, given Veilguard, I can understand that it was just the beginning. And yeah,
Oh, for sure.
and we try to be that way when we are going through it too, but it's hard not to point out those moments anyway, just because I think they're worth discovering. But you're absolutely right.
I also think that there is merit in comparing then and now.
Yes.
So, like, I agree with them that for that time, it was progress, but
Yeah.
we don't have to satisfy ourselves with crumbs when a feast can be possible.
Right. And the Veilguard comparison is still good because, yes, Veilguard does feel like a feast in comparison.
Yeah.
But even I feel like the Veilguard, and we'll get to it, isn't perfect. It's better. It's the best they've done as far as this stuff, but still always room for improvement. But thank you, Silkenet, for writing in. I hope you will continue to write in as you progress through the games and our podcast.
Yay! Callie wrote to us saying, it's been a weird and chaotic few weeks, even fell behind on the playthrough for a few days. Anyway, a couple concise thoughts on Enemies Among Us and some ranting on shepherding wolves. Okay. Enemies Among Us, questionable things. Glad you reminded me that we did all this to help someone find her brother and thereby stay off the streets. Was so annoyed to be doing anything that helps the Templars. Had kind of lost track of the actual motive by the end, and it was feeling upsettingly out of character. Really felt like this quest was the game trying to say, see, some mages go too far. Maybe the Templars have a point. Feels like it is insulting our intelligence. Oh, I completely agree. Like,
Yeah.
the game has to give us both sides, right? Because that's kind of the point, is
Right.
that you have to have this freedom to choose which side of the issue you land on. But doesn't it feel kind of icky if you decide that to land on the Templar side of the argument? Callie, I completely agree with you. I think that the inclusion of this could very much go, not all Templars,
Yeah.
you know? But I think the benefit of doing this mission as a pro mage person is that you can interact with the Templars and say, I mean, just because that mage was admittedly out of her mind does not mean that they all are.
Yep.
And you're turning that mage into a monolith and applying their views to everyone. So I think it shows you the prejudices that the Templars maintain and why they maintain those prejudices, but also gives you the option to not justify them.
Yeah, totally. I think also we discussed in that episode, like, if the mages didn't do that stuff and instead tried to infiltrate the Templars to show them the good within the ranks instead of sending monsters and demons, probably better, but
Like,
baby
convert
steps.
the Templars to your cause. You will have a fighting force.
It
They
takes
will
more work,
protect
but
you.
is more worthwhile.
Like, I think an ideal team really is a mage and a Templar working together, because the Templar can then have the mage's back and then protect them.
Right. I think on some level this is showing us, though, that humans tend to take the easy way out, right? It's easier to just be... It is always easier to be violent and not think. It is always easier, but it is rarely right. And yeah, anyway.
And here are Callie's thoughts on shepherding wolves. Appreciated how effective this quest was at making me feel things, but there is a particular implication/theme behind it that I did not appreciate. Quite liked this mage, who inconveniently lacks a name not assigned to him by someone who wanted to abuse/exploit him, neither of which I will be using, giving us a chilling depiction of the depth of self-loathing that abuse can force on someone. Thinking that suffering and dying is good or necessary because simply being alive is so harmful to others, it is a truly horrific belief, and it is truly horrible that the Qun and its adherents forced it on him. This is why I tried to free him regardless of whether he wanted me to, why I argued with him for as long as the game would let me, and why I do not think that contradicts my anarchist respect for autonomy. An abuse victim doing what an abusive organization forced them to believe they should, that does not sound like autonomy to me, speaking as someone who has been in that position. He deserved a nice few months of deprogramming and contemplation so that he can know his own true wants and truly choose for himself. The point, for me, when this depiction ceases being beautifully painful and painfully real is the implication that for someone who has been forced to hate themselves like this is the only way out is to die. Very sad that it is not possible to help him escape from that psychological imprisonment, that the abuser's control over him remains unbroken. Not sure the series ever shows us any self-hating circle mages who liberate themselves from that mindset either. If someone remembers an example, please let us know. Of course, Hawk/we cannot save everyone, but I am upset by the game implying that there is no hope of freedom for someone who has been forced to think that way. Just in case anyone needs to hear it, happen to know from experience, there is hope. You can learn to manage and weaken that feeling, maybe even escape it entirely. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on that, Callie. That's a perspective that Matt and I didn't consider and we don't have experience in.
Yeah, I mean, I am very lucky that in points in my life where it could be in that kind of a severe situation, I haven't been. But I totally understand that. And you're right. And I mean, I think I spoke to it a little bit when talking about being frustrated on how it plays out. But I appreciate this in-depth perspective and analysis on it. We always appreciate you writing in, anyone writing in. But, I think that's why it's important to talk about games in this way, especially making the choices we make, because we cannot make other people's personal choices. We can only make our own, and then hear others and encourage them to share their personal experiences as well, which is basically the whole purpose for this podcast, is to share our personal experiences through the lens of these games where we get to create ourselves or a facsimile of ourselves.
Huh. I'm just sad thinking about abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if somebody tells you that they don't use their dead name anymore, maybe don't say it to them again.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that for no
Yeah.
reason. Definitely not personal experience or anything.
Anyway, as always, thanks for writing in. We encourage anyone and everyone to write in, whether it's via our Discord, whether it's DMing me or Frankie on Discord or on Blue Sky, or sending us an email. We're going to give you all those places to reach out to us in just a moment. And please do. We love making this about a conversation, not just our conversation, but especially in a season where we can't have as many guests as we'd like. Having you as part of the conversation in the episode is always greatly appreciated, and we thank you for it.
You can also write your thoughts on a piece of paper, fold it, put it inside of a locket, give that locket to a refugee fleeing a war-torn country, ask them to bring it to an indigenous people to perform a ritual to free your thoughts and release them into the ether where we will receive them.
Really?
Yes. That is a way that we receive some fan mail.
I know, but I don't want to publicize it because it's so involved.
That's how Callie writes to us.
That's true. That is true. All that aside, our next episode is going to be Act of Mercy, a mission that Frankie and I both couldn't remember until we read a synopsis, which is fine. There are
also,
a lot
I
of
made the
missions in this
mistake
game.
of just Googling the phrase Act of Mercy and not Dragon Age. And it's a Catholic thing.
Yeah, it's a Catholic
that's
thing.
fun.
Yeah. Anyway, join us for Act of Mercy. That's the next mission we're playing. We will see you then. Let us wrap up the show and thank some folks.
So if you like what you heard here, please follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Blue Sky, YouTube, and Instagram, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky as Frankie B. Writes and DJ Stormageddon.
Please rate and review and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher if you can. Helps us get seen so other people can find us. That way when people Google Wayward Son, they don't find...
Supernatural fanfic.
There you go. That's a good one. Nice. Thanks for the assist.
Books by Rainbow Rowell.
And also, again, rating and reviewing is the best way you can help any indie podcast you love. So whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, or, Podcatcher, Pocket Casts, doesn't matter which. Just please do it. It only takes a few moments, and it really does help us grow our audience.
Kansas.
All right, enough. Yes, we get it. Thanks.
I'm just listing things.
Carry on. Carry on, my wayward son. Yes, we get it. I'm old. I understand. Shut up.
Would you like me to carry on?
Yes, please.
As we've told you so many times now, we're members of the Certain Point of View Network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts. Each of them have a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website, so you can join the conversation.
Yes, both of these posts are via Discord that we read today, and we would love to have more. We have a dedicated channel to the new episodes, as well as just all of your BioWare bullshit you'd like to share. So please join us there for that. As for personal plugs, I don't really have anything new other than to say that I have another podcast called Fun and Games that I do with the incredible Jeff Moonen. Main show is topic-based. We do a different topic every episode. And then the shorter episodes within the remainder of the feed are side quests where a different host every episode talks about a game they love and why they love it. Please go check that out. Also, I guess I can announce that I'm part of the Bossies. The Boss Rush Network is doing their own award show, and Jeff and I are presenting. It's on the 16th, which I believe is the day this episode airs. Yes, so if you were listening to this the day it came out, that night on Boss Rush's socials, I believe their YouTube channel, you can watch that award show where Jeff and I are presenting, and it's really cool. It's the first time I ever presented an award before, so that'll be pretty neat. What about you, Frankie?
As for me, I have no new projects because I am in the third year of my PhD, and currently all of my dreams are me struggling to complete my PhD, and also my mother getting in my way with baffling reasons and being mad at me for something stupid. Who says that dreams don't reflect life? Because those people are wrong, and I hate them. Anyway,
Wow.
if you would like to take care of me... You can kick me a couple of bucks via PayPal. I'm at Frankie B. Wrights there too. Buy me coffee, please. I'm sad.
Frankie is sad. Please buy them coffee.
I'm so sad all the time.
This
I
would
live
be
in a dark country.
I mean, that's true. You do.
Just like, I wake up at 8 o'clock and it is nighttime outside.
Yeah.
It's depressing.
You need a sun lamp.
I do. So send me a couple of bucks so I can buy one.
We'd like to thank Case Aiken for developing some awesome t-shirt designs that you can find over at certainpov.com or on the Teespring account for Certain POV. Also, of course, thanks as always to Case for designing each episode's individual show art. We greatly appreciate it.
We do. This is true. We also really appreciate Miracle of Sound for letting us use their song as our theme music. It's fantastic. We love it.
It is. It's true. And last, definitely not last, actually, and definitely not least, the one and only Red Spinks, who designed our Dragon Age-inspired logo. To see more of his work, you can go to Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
I really need to order something with the logo because I don't have anything, and I need like a hoodie or something. So
You should. I have a mouse pad, and I love it.
Red Spinks is amazing. I love his work. Please, please, please order something with the logo on it so you can also have a piece of Red Spinks in your home. Lastly, thank you for listening. I know it's hard sometimes because we're crazy,
It's true.
but you stayed and we love you. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And remember, all Templars are bastards. Even Sir Thask.
Fight for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk. Hawk, 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 Hawk.
Hey, you there! This is Nomad speaking. If you love retro video games and you're itching for some nostalgia, check out the Retro Wildlands podcast. In each episode, I'll use game music and sound to pull you into the gaming experience while I share my own thoughts and maybe a few memories. It's a great way to relive one of your favorite games or learn about a new one. Check out the Retro Wildlands podcast at superpodnetwork.com or wherever you listen to your podcast.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.